And now I would like to hand over the session to Amit. We are entering into the panel discussion. And this panel discussion, as I told you, the objective is to discuss various aspects to achieve a sustainability of the rooftop solar sector. So we have four different stakeholders. It was planned to have in such a way. So we have Manoj Srivastava sir. He's now moved to a different position altogether, but you all know how leading he was in all the work related to the renewable energy aspects in Madhya Pradesh, especially in rooftop. He has been recognized as an ambassador of solar rooftop by MNRE. I had the opportunity to go along with him to a couple of states in Assam and Bihar to promote the best practices of MP. And wherever we go, we have known only because I can say that very openly. And thank you so much, sir, for all your time and efforts to us. Then I moved to Abhishek Ranjan. He's a very good friend of mine, and I disappointed him today by saying no slides. So he was very much disappointed, but I can't help it. It's a panel discussion. So I told him some other day I'll give him an opportunity. He's from BSCS Rajdhani, BRPL, from Delhi. And he leads all the activities related to the DSM, energy efficiency, smart grid, rooftop, anything and everything under the sun on clean energy. He's in charge. So he's a leading example of that. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for joining us. And then I move on to Anurag Joshi, who's a leading developer from Cleantech Solar. I had very limited interaction with him, but he has been always quite cooperative and responsive to me whenever I request him. So thank you so much for joining, Anurag, on this call. And then I also again invite KP Baju sir from SBI to join the panel. So this panel, as you see, will be moderated by Amit. And Amit is a very tough panel moderator, I know, but he has a lot of interesting questions to ask. I can still see the sun rays on his forehead, so he's going to be very shining in his engagement. Over to you, Amit.
Thanks, Dinesh. So Manuji, let's start straight away with you. Please be honest. Now you have made Rewa Solar Park work of 750 megawatts. You have made solar rooftop work, let's say of 75 megawatts. So the excuse we all have been giving is that solar rooftop is tough, the transaction costs and time is very high. So it is easy to do solar park in terms of megawatts, but solar rooftop is difficult. But you have kind of been able to put us wrong in that theory. But please be honest and tell me, what is the difference between when you were designing Rewa Solar Park and solar rooftop?
I suppose one must keep in mind that the basic principles of structuring any good project, that we should try to minimize the risks that a developer might perceive. And secondly, there should be a reasonable distribution of risk between the procurer, between the developer, and between the project developer. In this case, it was Ramsel, for example, for the Rewa project, and MPUVN. So we try to make sure that these principles, which are common principles for structuring any good project, are equally valid for a project like 750 megawatt project with a say investment of 4,000 crore, or a rooftop project of say 50 kilowatt, where the investment would be far lesser. So that is a common principle that we had in mind. So if we had a data room for a 750 megawatt project, we also bothered to have a data room for a rooftop project as well. If we had a provision for part commissioning in the 750 megawatt Rewa project, where it's a normal thing because people expect that there would be necessity of part commissioning in a huge project, we realized that there is as much a need for part commissioning even in a medical college, because a medical college also consists very often of 5 buildings, and it is possible that the developer has finished the work in 3 buildings and it takes time to finish work in the remaining 2 buildings. So usually what's happened is that rooftop is thought of as something too small to apply your mind to, or it's something too small to really bother too much about. And but the point is that it's an investment that really has the same principles. For example, when we developed Rewa, there was a substantial decrease in the rates of solar power, and Government of India thought it necessary to have standard bidding guidelines for projects to come in later. So REVA results came in February of 2017, and in September, the standard bidding guidelines for mega projects were issued. I would think that there is a need for a similar sort of standard bidding guidelines for rooftop project as well. We applied, to the best of our ability, we tried to bring in a lot of principles to just, not going into the details, but we tried to have a good distribution of risk between the developer and the procurer, for example, in terms of a deemed generation, providing subsidy, escalation of tariff, part commissioning, payment security, etc. So these documents were in a way circulated by MNRE and World Bank, etc., to the various states. But it would be far better to for good coming up of future projects that these are made standardized so that good practices become a part of whichever state or whichever organizations decides to go ahead with projects. Apart from that, there is also how you run the tender in terms of how much effort you put in the data room, demand aggregation, how many buildings do you get into the tender. We could get 643 buildings. Then how do you cover the change of law? How do you do the PPA signing? For example, we did an interesting experiment that we had all the government colleges. So we had a meeting of all the government colleges, principals of all the government colleges and of the engineering colleges. And on one day, PPAs all over the state of all the government colleges, of all the engineering colleges, of all the polytechnics were signed all on one day. So such innovations can also help and make the job of the developer much easier. Otherwise, a developer would find it almost impossible to sign so many PPAs. You would spend 2 years just signing, say, if there are 70 or odd colleges in Madhya Pradesh. Imagine if a developer has to travel all over the state, visiting each district headquarter, each tehsil headquarter where the colleges are, trying to convince the principal, signing the PPA. That by itself would take 2 years. So these things, these are, my suggestions regarding how to structure a project, which would be necessary if you want to have as much of success, which is what you mentioned in the beginning, that India has not had that much success in rooftop projects as it had in ground-mounted projects. One of the reasons I believe that has been thought that ground-mounted project, the investment is big enough to apply yourself fully, to have standard bidding guidelines, whereas rooftop is considered to be a small investment. So, but I suppose we need the same amount of diligence, the same amount of going through the contractual provisions of ensuring that the contractual provisions are acceptable to the bidders as well as the bankers. We ran our tender documents through SBI, PNB and IRDA to make sure that they are confident enough to offer a tied loan to the winner of our bid. We also ran our documents through our future procurers, though I can understand that a college might not be in as much of a understanding of the PPA, but we got approval of the departments for that. So we had an approval of the procurer, of the bidders, as well as the bankers. This is something which I think would be essential.
Thank you, Manuji. Before I move to Abhishek, one question, just mention yes and no. No qualifications, Manuji. Which is more close to your heart, Reva Solar Park or Resco 123 solar rooftop?
Because both of them had their own. I put a lot of effort in both, and the results were very satisfying in both. So I think, and many of us friends here, we have worked together for them. So I think both of them had their own role to play, and I think they both have made a change in how things are done in the state. So one of the things I was keen on Resco, for example, we did a Resco 2 immediately after Resco 1 to make the point that it's very easily replicable. While the first one took a lot of time in development of documents and all that, the second one we did in less than a month. So the point was to establish that it is replicable. And when Dinesh mentioned that I had gone to say Assam or Bihar, the idea was to make the point, or when we had sent our team with the ISA delegation to Ghana and Guinea, the idea was to make the point that rooftop is easily replicable. What I would say is that something like Riva is not that much replicable, because you don't set up too many 750 megawatt projects. But a rooftop is something that's replicable over a college, over a medical college, over an engineering college, and in almost all countries, in almost all states. So that way, I think it lends easily to replication. However, I would say that principles of efficient project structuring, these I suppose are common to all projects, and this would extend even to something like road construction or running of a hospital and so on.
It's good to see you're slightly tilted towards solar rooftop. I take that yes for answer. But two things interesting. You mentioned that the learnings from solar park, you improvise them and use them for solar rooftop, very important. And then, as you mentioned, because solar rooftop is decentralized, a common man or a school or hospital can install it. You replicate it from RESCO 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a lot of learning from first tender to second tender has been going on. Abhishek, now let's be honest again, DISCOMs are the biggest villain for solar rooftop. We have been hearing this for the last 3-4 years. BSCS, Delhi DISCOMs have taken a lead actually in solar rooftop as an aggregator and also producing bankable tender documents. You recently have historic bids coming out. Is BSCS Rajdhani doing this as a CSR initiative? Are you seriously considering the solar rooftop will be a portfolio going forward? What is there in the DISCOM's mind? And sorry, there are a lot of questions, but if a private DISCOM like BSCS can do it, can the public DISCOMs do it?
Yeah, thank you, Amit. One of the most important reason why and how this rooftop solar is coming in our portfolio, there are two basic aspects. The thought process when we started this, in PACE-D program in 2018 in January, BRPL Solar City Initiative. The idea was twofold. A, how this is fitting in the entire integrated resource planning exercise that we are running. When we talk about the IRP, integrated resource plan, it's not only from the supply side but also from the demand side. Now, from the IRP side, how does it fit into? Second is we are very, very aggressive in initiative which we call LR. We have a separate project management office for loss reduction. So how this can help us in reducing our loss, technical losses or commercial losses or both T&D losses. So with this objective in mind, we found out what are the different voltage level losses, what are the different consumer category wise losses, and where on my solar strategy can fit in. Obviously, I cannot dictate which consumer category should I put in the solar, which I should not. We decided as a strategy that we should promote rooftop solar as a very important constituent of our integrated resource plan. There are advantages for the same. There are disadvantages in terms of the current regulatory practice of accounting for the income, net metering, net billing, or gross metering, whatsoever it is. But overall, when we did an analysis, we found that it is in the interest of the DISCOM satisfying two major objectives. A, loss reduction. B, in optimizing our power purchase cost and optimizing the network loading. So both these things for the past 2 years now. When we started in January 2018, we were at 30 kilowatt or 40 kilowatt. Today we are at 65 megawatt. Now, primarily, we are focusing more on residential solar, rooftop solar. Residential solar is the toughest one to crack. But then we are primarily focusing on that. Why? Because that is the one which is cross-subsidized. So we are very, very clear in the mind. A, the skewed nature of the retail tariff, wherein you have a lot of cross-subsidy in place. How you can use this solar strategy as a demand-side management initiative? You can use it as a reduction of the burden of the cross-subsidy. You can use this as a resource to force the people not to draw much from the grid and not pay for it. That means the net demand is also going to be reduced out of this. And strategically, you pose and you implement this rooftop solar in the areas of high density, demand, and congestion. I'll take a pause here, Amit.
Thank you, Abhishek, for this very innovative point what BSES has done in the solar rooftop space. Let me now move to Anuvrat. Now, Anuvrat, Cleantech is the #1 solar rooftop company in India. So it's like you have projects in Bhopal, you have taken financing from SBI World Bank. So you're fitting in the whole ecosystem what we are talking about. Do you really believe in the journey of solar rooftop, what we have taken in the last 5 years? And are you bullish about the demand of solar rooftop, especially in the next 1 year, given the COVID situation? There are various thoughts in the mind that the pipeline is going to dry. CNI customer and MSME are going to hold on to their cash. Next 2-3 quarters are really difficult in the market. Although the government is coming out with 100% solarization, there are tenders coming in residential and also government buildings. But your main customers of MSME or CNI are going to halt you for next few quarters. Your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Amit. It's a pleasure to be here. So wonderful to see all of you. It's been difficult to yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. So it's been difficult to get a chance to meet with people like we all used to. So first of all, wonderful to see all of you. And I think the first comment, appreciate the compliment, appreciate that we've, acknowledging the milestone that we have managed to get to. And there is, I don't think even in our minds 5 years ago, we had the thought that we would be in excess of 500 megawatts at this point of time. And so that's really testament to all of the stakeholders. And I think we have had these discussions with you. We've had these discussions with SBI. Simply put, this would not have been possible if, those kind of stakeholders had not played a part. Manu sir went through in fair bit of detail how well structured project can completely enable a party to participate, and kind of the volume that you can see come out of it is can be very, very different, as opposed to a effort where you put in all the effort but you miss out on some critical factors of the kind that he had mentioned. So the rooftop solar industry, and I these days tend to describe it as the on-site solar industry, has really stood on the shoulders of giants and the effort of all the people, whether it is the World Bank, SBI, MPU, VNL, MNRE, SBI, obviously, and the others such as PNB, ADB, and many others. So, so with that acknowledgement, then I'll sort of try to answer some of the questions that, some of the other questions that you raised. So, I mean, let's first start with the basic question that you asked, which is, like, what does the future look like, right? See, first of all, the journey so far has made the asset class extremely streamlined. It is a very well understood asset class as far as operational risks are concerned, financial risks are concerned, and technology risks are concerned. Virtually all of the risks and all of the upsides are reasonably well understood by most parties. What I think I have the pleasure of sharing with you today, and I don't think this will be too different for other developers, is that even during the past 3 months, we have had the portfolio operating at least at somewhere from 60 to 70% capacity utilization for the portfolio. And at this point, we are at close to 97%, which, I mean, in the normal course of things, you could, there could be reasons to operate at that number. So what, and why do I bring that up in answer to your question about the future? Why do you think that portfolio is operating, right? If that facility, the factory, the industrial user, and keep in mind that most of the megawatts, the 5 gigawatts we're talking about, have tended to come from the industrial user, right? Why would the industrial user, which is the first power the industrial user would use? even if they're using 5% or 10% of their normal load, the very first power that they will use is the one that's available on site. It's available for 4 rupees. Whatever the discom rates or any other source of power might be, this is their cheapest source of power. On-site solar, for that reason, even we within our own company end up facing a competition with ourselves, because now industrial solar has become open access off-site, and we too get to do projects which are 50 megawatts and 100 megawatts in size. Right? We have that opportunity just the way bankers have, and just as you and SBI took the leap of faith and said, MPUVNL took the faith to say no, the rooftop segment is scalable. We have those same kind of questions, but the fact remains that when the power that is so easily available on site, irrespective of all your sort of regulatory or any other challenges, transmission challenges, is simply there to stay. It's power available at such a reasonable rate that it's your mainstay. So in that regard, we don't anticipate actually quite the opposite. We completely do not anticipate anybody like sort of moving away from the use of on-site solar or solar in general for that matter, because if situations just gotten harder for you and your cash flows have gotten more challenging, you will absolutely tend to save costs. And that project where perhaps a revenue and laying out an extra line of tires or creating a new factory was more important to you yesterday, today you really want to first figure out how much can I given my current asset portfolio of producing whatever widgets, how cheaply can I can I reduce costs, etc. So first, the first and foremost, we have absolutely observed that there is a very strong tendency towards trying to expedite all of these projects in multiple customers. Anybody who's had the opportunity to either come back into office or work from home and engage with the rest of the team, their internal teams, have restarted these projects. Your point is well taken on CapEx projects. And we sort of dovetails into the question of commercial solar, dovetails into the question of residential solars. You notice everything I'm saying, of course, is going to be biased or at least tilted towards a RESCO is thinking, an IPP is thinking. And so our product and that of our sort of colleagues in the industry who do similar stuff has absolutely become a good lot more valuable. And we can see that. And that's absolutely going to continue till the roofs get meaningfully filled up, or the unused land on site gets meaningfully filled up. And I don't think we are there yet. But on the CapEx side, on the SME side, the kind of credit that we are not in a position to finance, and you have definitely had conversations with us, I've had conversations with Money as well on this topic, that it is a challenge. It is a challenge to finance on the RESCO basis using long-term PPAs, slightly lower credit industries. All of those used to get done under CapEx and is going to face a lot of pressure. So I think I'll summarize by saying the kind of innovation and hard work and innovation that you all demonstrated in enabling the rooftop segment previously, and as it turned out largely for the large industrials, I think that effort will be needed for residentials, SMEs, and the commercial segment, because because most of it tends to get on a CapEx basis. So, as I often tend to, I throw the ball right back in your court, and I would say that RESCO, you having enabled it, is doing very well. It is doing very well for high credit industrial customers, right? But everything else, you're very right, is not doing too well already, wasn't doing too well already. And it's definitely going to do, one should never say definitely, very likely going to be much worse off. So it's really up to SBI, up to you, up to all the other organizations, up to up to Mr. Manu Srivastava to tell us how to solve that problem.
Thank you, Anurag. Thanks a lot. Baijuji, hope you're still online.
Hello.
Yes, Baijuji, we are getting.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, I'm there.
Thank you, Baijuji. We are getting a lot of questions from SBI for SBI.
Okay.
I will just shoot a couple of them to you. First,
Yeah.
let me seriously congratulate SBI because, as Anurag was saying, let us see some facts. SBI has disbursed 66% of the loan. It was a huge loan, 7,000 crores given to you 3 years back. All the top 10 players, Cleantech is over here, Amplus, Cleanmax, Azure. Everybody has taken line of credit from SBI in the last 3 years. No, so undoubtedly, SBI has been a leader in terms of lending on solar rooftop. This is a feat which no other bank has been able to do that. So we all appreciate that, and Cleantech has put this forward very clearly in front of them. People are also very interested, Baijuji, which you mentioned briefly in your comment, that lot of funding has gone to MSMEs, to entrepreneurs. I met few of them in Delhi as well. So audience wants to understand, do you have this 1 megawatt program or the MSME where SBI has given loans? How do you encourage entrepreneurs on the ground, especially in the COVID situation where jobs and the green stimulus is going to be the main focus of government? If you can share some information on the work done by SBI or MSME and the entrepreneur section.
Yeah, and thank you, Amit. Man, thank you all the other panelists also for highlighting the role played by SBI. And it's nice to hear that, but we'll definitely would like to do much better. Regarding to your question on 1 megawatt project, 1 megawatt, we have designed a product especially catering to these MSMEs only. The 1 megawatt project is basically, we feel that we have pegged it at 1 megawatt, as understanding that the requirement for small units should be closer to that, and that will be. The terms of such a product is much more liberal and easier to execute. So how did we take it forward? We had, in fact, it has been a slow starter, but they are now starting to pick up well, in the sense that now more and more industrial units are approaching us for funding that. This has been, like I'd like to say that it has been a sort of a demonstrative thing. Your neighbor puts up a rooftop, he tells you that, where did you get that money from? Okay, I went to SBI. This is how I got the money. What do you save on that? This is what a ballpark figure which he mentioned, that this is what I save on that, and this is my outgo. So looking at that, this demonstrative effect, which is especially in industrial units and all, that has given us good results. And coming to demonstrative effect, I like to say that demonstrative is both ways. It's from the side of the lender and the borrower. In the sense, the lenders also, there are demonstrative effects. Very interestingly, if you see that we have pockets of excellence. We have officers who have started lending, and wherever they have moved in assignments, different assignments, they have tasted success by lending to solar, and they have continued doing so. So that has in fact triggered interest among other people also who are their friends, whom they know that okay, this particular officer is doing very well. He has he has achieved good growth by lending only to solar segment, especially the rooftop solar segment. So this gets emulated by other people. So like this word to mouth publicity is helping us a lot, and going forward, we are sure that post COVID, like I mentioned in my inaugural in my address also, every penny needs to be saved. Like Anurag was saying about, as an industry man, I am sure that you will agree that cost savings should be the prime concern now, because we are not sure what kind of growth you are going to have, whether in what horizon, time horizon, 6 months, 1 year down the line, the economy is going to recover. So every penny which you save now is going to make a huge difference. The balance sheets of the companies will look much more healthier. So I'm sure that the MSMEs also, because they face tough competition, they also have to had to bear the brunt of COVID, will surely look at this aspect, and we are sure that under MSME, this 1 megawatt project will really do well, and further growth will happen in that sector. Thank you.
I must add that I have had a chance to work with MSME. So KFW is developing a project of how to structure rooftop and industrial estates for MSMEs. So they have a mandate from MSME Government of India. So because of Madhya Pradesh's experience in the rooftop that we did with World Bank, they have been in discussion with me, and I'm also working with them to have a more sort of a better learning from the experiences of our RESCO for MSME. Because one of the learnings that we had was that people have their doubt that whether MSME will run for 25 years. So one of the suggestions I've had, a better way to structure the bid would be to say have a tariff of 1 or 2 rupees lower than the DISCOM tariff, and have the bidding parameter as the number of years after which you transfer back the project to the MSME, because most of those MSME are engineering units. So only for a rooftop is not too complicated for them. So that addresses that uncertainty about life of an MSME for 25 years.
True.
I'm working with KFW on that. So let's see.
Great. Good. Nice to hear that.
Thank you, Bajuji. It's good to hear from the largest lender in India. Now, Abhishek, we are getting the same question again back from the audience, that how do we convince the state DISCOM to do what you are doing? How do we convince them that it is not a plain loss of revenue as a result of to DISCOMs as a result of solar rooftop?
We attempted to answer this with some kind of model study that we did, and the results are also there on our website as well. So possibly it will be good to analyze the overall impact on the different feeder wise. You understand the feeder wise, it's not about only the industrial roofs going solar way. You cannot stop them. Either they are going for solar or open access, you can't throttle them. And that has to be catered to in the modification amendment we are seeking in the Electricity Act, where we are talking about DBTs and reduction of the cross subsidy, etc. That is expected to be taken care of there if and when it is rolled out. The idea is to look at a holistic picture and to do a simulation, commercial simulation study feeder wise, and find out what is it that it is in store for you overall picture. So we tried to do a modeling of I think 8 feeders, out of them 2 industrial commercial feeders and 6 were residential feeders. In our case, if example, if you see the composition, 86-87% is residential in terms of numbers, and in terms of load they constitute about 70%. So if you do such kind of resource analysis, what is the consumer composition, and then figure it out as to where you want to focus. So overall, again, you have to do a resource planning and figure it out in the overall perspective, how much gain is it being, I mean, it helps you in recovering, vis-a-vis if there is some kind of revenue loss in terms of if somebody is going solar, then what is the revenue loss? Again, and the second thing is, one has to be, the DISCOMs have to be very, very aware of the fact that open access versus rooftop solar, always rooftop solar is better option to choose for, because open access is leading to, we have seen that in case of, like, if you go for a rooftop solar, that is helpful in reduction of your AT&C losses, T&D losses. But the open access, the power is being wheeled from outside to you, resulting in losses. But rooftop solar is being demand center, it is not incorrect. That is now also mathematically proven. So CA, very recently, Government of India MOP, they notified CA's 2018 the notification on how to estimate the T&D losses. They have given to all the state government. So if you follow that for assessing your T&D, and you see the role of embedded generation, be it rooftop solar, that also helps you in appreciating and quantifying the fact before the commission, regulatory commission, that the rooftop solar helps you in reducing the AT&C losses and thereby earn some incentive. That also has to be taken care of. And there is a copy of the study that we have done if required, that can be accessed. This is in the public domain.
Thanks, Abhishek.
Amit, actually fantastic points by Abhishek, and actually, in fact, that these are the kind of things that give us ammunition to be able to have conversations, like with open-minded discoms, and kind of try to make the point that solar is not necessarily bad for the discom. But in addition, I'd like to sort of make another point, which I'm sure everybody can can agree, that, and it's related to the point that we were making earlier, that if we have discovered in India, and this is less than 10 years old, right, the cheapest source of our power, if we have happened to have discovered now a cheapest source of power, which happens to be solar, in particular on-site solar, when you switch to that, at some level, it's a question of allowing your industry and industrialists to become more competitive. And I mean, at some level, it is better for the discom, for whether it's Coca-Cola or any other tire manufacturing company, to lay down another factory, to lay down another line, or to produce more tires, because they can do so more competitively, and they have a better opportunity to therefore use more power overall. So it is not necessarily a case of zero-sum game. In fact, it definitely isn't a zero-sum game. And to not use the cheapest source of power available to you, seems almost criminal at a certain level. So it's something that is critical for, I only mean criminal in the sense of, figuratively, that it is it's available to us, and we really must use it, because in the end, we will allow our nation to be more competitive and our industries to be more competitive. And that's sort of our perspective. Every customer we engage with is not just about against discom or against this. Our focus is we are making a reasonable return. We are growing. We are doing very well. But in the end, it only works if you actually make the customer successful. Otherwise, it's relatively pointless.
To supplement what Anuvrat just said, I would add that there are a lot of contracting from Western countries where the principal insists that whatever production happens has to be with entirely green sources. So we have had discussions with a lot of industries being set up in the state where their condition was that they would be only allowed to function if they entirely source their energy requirement from green sources.
I believe if all industries can take their pledge, then Manoj, you and me will not have a job. Then everything will go smoothly. Probably everybody on this panel will not have any job. But let me wrap up by a last question for you, Manoj. Audience is asking that long-term security is a big issue for solar rooftop. We don't know if the MSME is going to be there for next 15 years if you have a PPA. We don't know if the roof is going to be there for 15 years. In solar park, I know this is a large project, large lending, so everything is assured. If you can share some of the insights, specifically you made a lot of innovative changes in the tender documents on payment security mechanism, part subsidy, which gave comfort to investors like Cleantech to come and invest in Madhya Pradesh.
Yes. So as far as our first two tenders were pertaining to government buildings, where it can be reasonably certain that the organization would be around for the next 25 years. However, there could be some uncertainty about the building or any expansion in the building. So we had provisions regarding that. If the procurer or the building owner wants that the project should be removed, in that case, we had a provision for termination compensation to the developer, because unless we agree to that, it's an extremely risky project for the developer. Then, in case there is an expansion of a roof or some sort of shifting that is required, then we had two provisions. A, whatever is the additional cost in terms of civil cost and electrical cost, which the developer has to face because of the shifting, that would be paid by the procurer. And secondly, if there is a generation loss during the period of the shifting, that would also be borne by the procurer. So these are the two conditions. However, I think we shift on to an entirely different issue when we talk about the issue of MSMEs. There, I think it's rather uncertain whether an MSME would last for 25 years. So though we went in RESCO 3 for a 25-year model, after having gone through it, my understanding is that a better model would be if we keep a tariff slightly lower than the DISCOM prevailing tariff, and the bidding parameter being the number of years or the period after which the project is transferred to the MSME. So that would build in the uncertainty into the bidding parameter itself. So that would substantially address the uncertainty. I know that World Bank and MSME Government of India have been talking of some sort of a risk mitigation using a fund. We can also have that, but I think it would be better if the bidding parameter imbibes in itself the uncertainty and thus lessens the uncertainty.
Thank you, Manuji. With this, I would like to wrap up the panel discussion. I think Mani Khurana is going to have a very tough time in collating all these points. We have, with this, such a senior panelist, we have tried to cover what these 5 gentlemen have learned in the last 5 years. So let me wrap up the panel discussion, and Dinesh, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Amit. You made a very challenging task very easy, but I know how much you have been going through for the past 45 minutes. So many questions. I'll send all the questions to the panelists also. They have been very overwhelming and very leading questions, actually. So Amit had done a wonderful job. At the same time, I thank really each one of you. Baju sir, Anurag, Manu sir, and Abhishek have been wonderful panelists. And basically, we would like to, as you all know, we are going to record this and share with all the audience also. I'm really overwhelmed to see just now 30 countries have participated in this webinar right now, from US, Austria, Belarus, Kazakhstan. So it's Thailand, Philippines, of course, Southeast Asia, Singapore. So it's a very interesting webinar, and I believe we have done justice in terms of bringing you on board and then sharing all your views to all of them. And we continue to have dialogue. We will try to see how much we could further generate more interest on this topic. Move forward. Just before handing over to Mani, I want to test your patience for a couple of more minutes. We'll have the last poll. If you don't mind. So guys, if you can show the last poll, please. Yeah. So how will demand for rooftop solar be witnessed during the post-COVID era? This question we want to avoid as much as we could, because it's enough. We have seen webinars discussing pre-COVID, post-COVID, COVID, etc. We could resist asking this question now. So if the audience could kind of select in terms of the right parameter, how would you think? There's a lot of debate in terms of whether RESCO projects will be the most preferred one, because the capex guys would like to conserve their cash. This also includes the residential sector, unfortunately, because the 60% subsidy between 1 to 3 kilowatt, the 40% subsidy exposes 60% investment by the residential consumer. Will you go for it? There's a lot of debate on that aspect as well. And RESCOs, if RESCOs have to do a lot, will they get easy access to finance? A very classic case in Chhattisgarh, which we just ongoing, we had to extend it twice. Not the response was poor, the response was very good. But there are very new RESCOs coming into play. It's very interesting to see. Please watch out for the results of Chhattisgarh RESCO. The first tender post removal of all the subsidies for the government sector. So this is all consented buildings. We have followed the same MP model in terms of the data room, but that's the current status. So we're going to close the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we close it. Can you show the results, please? Whoa, yeah. So the financing aspects of Baju sir, unfortunately, you're not able to see the screen, but the poll says the demand will decrease due to overall financial uncertainties, and that makes the financing sector to work more and then also try to develop innovative and standardized projects. Thank you so much, guys, for showing the results. Now let me hand it over to Mani for summarizing the panel discussion. You can even summarize the whole webinar, Mani. I saw you taking a lot of notes. and also provide some way forward for the audience. Over to Mani.
Thank you, Dinesh, and thank you for the panelists. I'm amazed. So Ganesh is right. I wrote a lot of notes, but I have 5 pages of notes because you spoke so well. There were so many pertinent points which came out. One thing which stuck to me, and I've been thinking about it. This COVID has made us realize we can actually have clean air. We've been enjoying clean air for wrong reasons, but yes. So we know renewable energy is here to stay. Solar costs have really gone down, and that solar becomes an easy answer, and it's doable. As it was mentioned in the panel, solar parks are not that scalable. Obviously, land is a constraint. We all know that. But rooftop is there. It's scalable. It's doable. It was also mentioned in the panel how it makes basic sense for at least commercial industries. The cost is much lower. They'll become competitive in the market. We'll sell more.
Yes, sir.
It makes perfect sense.
Okay,
So,
no problem, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure, I'll do that.
So, I think, Dinesh, you are not on mute. Thanks. So basically, where we're coming down to is an untapped potential. 2-3 things actually stuck to me in this. First, I completely agree with Manu sir. It's all about sharing of risk. If you have a good bidding document, you'll get a good response. That was done wonderfully, and I hope we can make it happen in the rest of India as well. Thank you, Abhishek. You basically took the question of the distribution companies. That's the main thing. As long as it's a win-win situation, which it is, if you think about the losses that you can actually save, what you save in the procurement cost, it makes a lot of sense. So thank you for highlighting that issues. And I think it's all about the mindset. Once we know that the rooftop is here to stay, how do we make it a part of our business model going forward is the main thing. It's very good to hear, Anuvrat, that at this point of time when the demand has really gone down in solar rooftop, you're not seeing much of a decline in the demand from your assets. That's a very good thing. And I agree. The next thing we have to focus on is residential and MSMEs. Mr. Baiju, thank you so much for bringing on the demonstration effect. It makes complete sense. As we do more and more projects, as we've been trying to do under the World Bank program, we'll see a demonstration effect not only on the consumers, but also on the lenders. That's the main idea. The thing is about awareness. The thing is about making people comfortable with the technology so that they can take it forward and go to the next step. That's it from my side. Thank you so much for staying for this entire session, everyone. And thank you for the lovely comments.
Thank you so much, Mani. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful summary, lovely summary. People are going to hear you again and again for that in terms of how you summarized it very well. So once again, let me thank each one of you for your valuable time. And I'm really overwhelmed with your presence, your remarks, and all the journey, the experience you have gained so far. Amit, special thanks to you for moderating it. Amit SG just called. Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. Sorry, mute myself. He apologized. He's still with the Chinese and the Japanese delegation. Say it's a political one, so he can't move. So he sent his apologies. So we will hear more about his views in the next opportunity. So I apologize on his behalf to all the audience who are expecting him to give his views. But wonderful show again. So thank you once again, Manu sir, Anuvrat, Abhishek, Baiju sir, Mani, and Amit. And thank you each and every one of the audience. Again, from 30 countries, we never expected it. I started with 6 countries. But as I saw people joining, it was 30 countries. We will send you all the analysis and the summary of this as well. And the recording, of course, will be made available. And we'll again so thank ADB SCEF 2020. And I request all the participants to register and see those kind of summit and what is happening. They're very interesting. 40 deep dive kind of workshops are happening there. So you can choose for the next 4 days. You can see and witness and hear all the discussions that are happening. But for the Indian rooftop solar, this journey is an amazing journey. We have just started, you can say, or we are definitely moving forward to a best moving forward. But people like Manu sir are moving, so we are very unhappy to see that. But we will not leave you, sir. We will rope you in wherever you go. We won't leave you. we cannot live without you in this part of the sector. So we'll continue to disturb you, and thank you so much for accepting the invitation. And Baiju sir, we are also keep on.
It's area of interest for me, and we all friends. It's always most welcome.
Great, sir. You're a great supporter, sir. You're a great supporter to us. And Baiju sir also, because he's also getting so many vectors because financing has become a big issue. So a lot of enthusiasm. We hope we maintain this. And I wish you all a very good evening to the panelists because they're all part of India. And I wish a very good day for all of the participants from various part of the world. And we'll see you again in another opportunity. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Also,
thank you.
All the organizing team, my team from EY and Edelman and all the other team members who have contributed to this success, IDAM, EDI, GSEX and Skill Council. Thank you once again and goodbye. Bye-bye.